This is an iHeart podcast.
We've had 0 murders in the last week. Washington was the most dangerous place in this country, and now, you know what? It's probably the safest place in our country. Everyone's starting to come here. The restaurants now you can't get in. Many of them closed because they couldn't open with crime. Everybody before me is happy what I'm doing. Most of you won't say that because you're radical left.
You're listening to the 47 Morning Update with Ben Ferguson.
Good Tuesday morning. Nice to have you with us on the 47 Morning Update. We've got 2 big stories for you coming out of the White House. First up, the White House working now with the House GOP that has just launched a probe into the alleged D.C. crime data manipulation lies from the Democrats, claiming that violent crime and crime in general is actually down big time this year. Well, there's now an official probe into it, and what they're finding is truly shocking. Also, the president signing an executive order. This time it deals with cashless bail. It's something Democrats ran on. It was a way to flood the city streets with extreme criminals, not holding them accountable. So what happens next? I'll have that as well. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. You've got a lot of choices for cell phone service, with new ones popping up all the time. But if you want to make a difference and you want to stop giving your money to liberal companies, well, one way you can do that is by getting rid of liberal mobile you probably have right now. That is where hundreds of thousands of Americans are now coming together and have made Patriot Mobile what they are today. They've been in service now for 13 years. And right now is the best time ever to switch because it's never been easier. Now, before I tell you about that, I want you to know why switching is so important. Because every time you make a call, every time you send a text, and every time that you pay your bill, you're actually standing up for the values you believe in. Your First and your Second Amendment rights, the rights of unborn children, and you stand with our military, our veterans, our wounded warriors, and our fallen soldier families. Because Patriot Mobile takes about 5% of your bill every month at no extra cost to you. And they give it back to these organizations that fight for our values. Now let's talk about switching. It has never been easier. You can keep your same number, keep your same phone, or upgrade. Patriot Mobile's got a 100% U.S.-based customer service team, and literally they can now, with technology, get you activated in minutes from the comfort of your home or your office. If you're stuck in a contract or owe money on your phones, no worries. Patriot Mobile has a contract buyout program. And this is how we win, folks. By aligning our spending with our values, every dollar we spend matters. Now, let me also give you a free month of service. Go to patriotmobile.com/Ferguson. That's patriotmobile.com/Ferguson. Or you can call them 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Ferguson, and you're going to get 1 month free service by switching today. So again, patriotmobile.com/Ferguson. Use the promo code Ferguson. You'll get a free month of service today. patriotmobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT. It's the 47 Morning Update, and it starts right now.
Story number 1.
There is a big story brewing, and it involves the House GOP launching a probe into alleged D.C. crime data manipulation. And it's happening right before our very eyes. Yes, Democrats are now being accused of covering and lying, claiming that crime was dropping when in reality it was still extremely high. And that is where you insert House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. He has launched an investigation into President Trump's allegations that D.C. crime data is being manipulated by local police leadership. Now, you may ask yourself this question like, why do I care? Well, let me explain. The action actually comes less than a week after the Justice Department announced a federal probe into the statistics. That's a big deal. The Trump administration is facing escalating pushback over the president's decision to frame federal agents involved in D.C. as a public safety issue when violent crime in the city, they're now claiming, is at a, quote, 30-year low. The problem is the citizens are saying that's a lie, and now whistleblowers are coming forward. A whistleblower, quote, with direct knowledge of internal MPD operations and crime data discussions also informed the committee The crime statistics were allegedly manipulated on purpose on a widespread basis and at the direction of senior MPD officials. That is what Comer wrote in a letter to the Metropolitan Police Department's chief, Paulina Smith. Quote, while MPD took action against the single district commander, the issue potentially affects all 7 patrol districts, as MPD leadership allegedly instructed commanders to routinely downgrade the charges to, quote, artificially label crime at a lower statistic. So you're going to artificially lower crime, the District of Columbia's crime stats, so then you can then say it's safer, even though it is actually not, and it maybe is even more dangerous than it was the last time you looked. So if you know that, you do what they're doing. You just make it up as you go, right? You say, no, everything's great. Crime's down, right? Crime's down. Who could be against how great things are now? AKA Donald Trump, we don't need you to send in the National Guard. Well, Comer noted in his letter that the D.C. police had suspended a commander, Michael Pulliam, for allegedly manipulating crime statistics, like I mentioned, on purpose. Media accounts of the incident additionally note that the police union claims police supervisors in the department in fact manipulated crime data to make it appear violent crime was fallen considerably compared to last year. Now, his committee is requesting documents and transcribed interviews with the commanders of each of the 7 patrol districts in Washington, D.C. And then you have Donald Trump. He has called the statistics released by the FBI, quote, fake, to justify federal intervention in D.C. and his plans to intervene in other cities. The president has also said that he's interested in using D.C. as a test for operations in other cities. And on Sunday, he even raised the ear of Maryland's Governor Wes Moore when he threatened to send troops to Baltimore. Now, Democratic leaders, what did they do? Well, they lost their minds. They started picketing, they started screaming, they started yelling. And what did they do? Well, they were angry. Yes, they were angry that the President of the United States of America isn't buying into, as many would describe it, business as usual. This is exactly why Donald Trump keeps winning on the issues, because he's not backing down.
Now story number 2.
So Donald Trump has come out and he is seeking to end cashless bail nationwide. He's starting with Washington, D.C., and his order directs federal law enforcement to hold arrestees in custody and prosecute them on federal charges when possible, to avoid 2 things: pretrial release and pretrial release with cash bail. Now, the president has made it clear he's not messing around. In fact, Trump is threatening to withhold or revoke federal funding from states and local jurisdictions that have substantially eliminated cash bail for offenses deemed a threat to public safety, violent or sexual crimes, burglary, looting, vandalism, and the Attorney General is ordered to identify those jurisdictions within 30 days. Federal agencies then determine which funding to, quote, suspend. Now, the framework for all this is going to be big. You also have a lot of people that are frustrated in and around the President of the United States of America. Why? Well, because he's not backing down from what he promised. And they can't believe that they can't get him to just be quiet on this issue of cashless bail. Take a listen to how MSNBC described the signing.
So first, let's start with the big topic, cashless bail. Cashless bail, of course, allows a defendant to be released from jail while they're awaiting trial. That's based on their commitment to appear in court instead of paying a specific cash amount. I know some supporters of cashless bail says it avoids penalizing low-income defendants. But, Gabe, what is the president and White House saying about this order and their hopes for what it will do, not just for Washington, but the rest of the country?
Well, Zane Clay, the president and his administration have been railing against cashless bail for quite some time. It's something that Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney here in D.C., has been talking about a lot in the last couple of days. And this executive order the president just signed aims to eliminate cashless bail here in D.C. by potentially withholding federal funds from this jurisdiction. And also, he ordered his attorney general to look at different jurisdictions across the country and identify those that have cashless bail policies and explore ways to withhold some federal funding. Now, that is something that the administration has done for a variety of issues, trying to explore ways to stop federal funding or to the threat of withholding federal funds in order to for those jurisdictions to agree or to go along with their policy. But that is just one of the executive orders that he signed this morning, St. Clair.
Now, cashless bail has been something that the left is absolutely obsessed with. I'll give you a great example. This Democratic representative, Kelly, saying this about cashless bail. Now, again, Democrats have been campaigning on it. Black Lives Matter was created around it. George Soros and the activist DAs were the ones that implemented it. They wanted cashless bail. They wanted prison reform, which meant get everybody out of jail. These are the radical left ideas now destroying cities. Yet, you even look at Chicago, and Democratic Representative Kelly, again, talking about Chicago, saying this about National Guard troops and cashless bail.
I want to ask you, we only have a minute left, Congresswoman, about no cash bail, because the president signed an EO today ending that practice, aimed to at least. Your state of Illinois was the first in the nation to pass a cashless bail law. What does Donald Trump not understand?
He doesn't understand that this gives judges the discretion, more discretion to make that decision. They can say no if they think it's someone that will, go out and be violent. They're too risky. But if they have nothing in their past, or the judge feels that, they'll be safe and it's okay to, let them out. They have that discretion. So, but Donald Trump doesn't care. Again, this is part of his, fear. This is part of his distraction from other things going on in the world, or other things going on in the United States. Like he said, he would lower prices. That hasn't happened. So these are all distractions.
All distraction, she says. Nothing good Donald Trump's done. Prices, she says, aren't lower, even though they actually are. Gas prices is a perfect example of that. The price of eggs, the price of butter, the price of milk. There's countless items that are lower since Donald Trump got back into office. But you can hear this representative straight up lying about it. I also want you to hear from the Miami mayor about what he had to say about cashless bail and what happens when you have it.
Yeah, and when you were at the White House, you spoke about this. You went to the White House for that summit, and you talked about cashless bail contributing to the nation's crime spike. Tell us more about that and why you don't see more cities and states turning over a page from cashless bail.
Well, as president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, it's my responsibility to lead and to put forth an agenda based on policies that have worked in my city and that can work across America. And, this cashless bail is another example of a failed liberal policy where you create a revolving door of people who commit crimes and are back out on the streets immediately. It makes it impossible for law enforcement to do their job. It puts an incredible burden on cities and on law-abiding residents that have to deal with people who are habitual criminals, and it just doesn't work. And so, we have to get away from politicizing, again, law enforcement and get to things that work, policies that work, that make our city safer, because safety is the number one concern. Whenever you've done a police, I've been around a public service for 13 years, okay? They're like dog years. And I'll tell you, whenever you do a poll, the number one issue is always crime and the economy. 1 and 2, and they vacillate between one and the other. So safety is the biggest concern for citizens across the world. So it's something that we cannot afford to politicize. We've got to do things that keep our citizens safe.
By the way, the Miami mayor, absolutely right. Cashless bail is another example of a failed liberal policy, something that's been implemented. And the data shows overwhelming. The majority of Americans are in favor of what Donald Trump's doing, not allowing those that are committing heinous crimes to walk among us.
Thank you for listening to the 47 Morning Update with Ben Ferguson. Please make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. And for more in-depth news, also subscribe to the Ben Ferguson Podcast, and we will see you back here tomorrow.
This is an iHeart podcast.